Let's begin. Episode 10. When the world moves on, grief, stagnation, and the echo of loss.
Hey, before we get into it, we just want to make something clear.
Yeah, this podcast isn't professional advice. We're not doctors, therapists, or mental health experts.
We're just two mates having honest conversations, sharing my story, my experiences, and what's helped me survive things like PTSD, anxiety, depression, grief, and a whole lot of chaos in between.
What works for one person might not work for another. So please take what you need, leave the rest, and always reach out to a professional if you need that extra support.
This is real life. It's raw. It's mine. And we're just here to make sure no one feels like they're walking through the dark alone. Hey there, before we dive in, I just want to say welcome. Take a breath, grab your coffee, tea, or even a cushion to scream into if that's the kind of day you're having. We're going to begin in about 2.5 minutes, but I wanted to check in. How are you doing? Really? If you're new here, this is Finding Light in Darkness, our brutally honest, sometimes painful, sometimes hilarious conversation about trauma, mental health, grief, and the crap life throws at us. And if you've been walking with us a while, thank you. You are the reason I keep turning this mic on. Now breathe, get comfy, and let the darkness know we're not hiding anymore.
That's right. This episode's a big one, a heavy one. We're talking about what happens when you're still grieving, but the world has moved on. When you're standing in a memory and everyone else is just standing in line at Woolies. We're here with you, and we'll get through this together. Content warning before the episode begins. Before we begin, a content warning. This episode deals with grief, loss, mental health challenges, depression, PTSD, suicidal thoughts, and emotional stagnation. Some content may be triggering. Please listen with care. If you are in crisis or need support, Lifeline Australia 131114. Beyond Blue 1300224636. And as always, Scott's inbox is open. Chat with Scott. findthelight@gmail.com. You are not alone.
Morning light, so bright, shine through night. Wake up heart, new day start. Dreams take flight. Hold on tight. In your soul, feel control. Rise up high. voices loud, be so proud. Rise up high, touch the sky. Feel the fire, never stop.
Part 1. When you're still grieving and no one notices anymore.
You ever just sit there and realize that the people around you forgot you're still bleeding? Not physically, but inside. It's like the world clocked back in, moved on, laughed again, made plans, took selfies, and you're still holding ashes, you're still stuck on that day. August 4th, 2016. For me, the day she died.
And that's the thing about grief. It doesn't end on a schedule. It doesn't care that it's been 6 months or 6 years. Time moves forward. But grief, it sits, it lingers. It carves a chair at the table, and people forget it's there because they don't see it.
They stop asking. They start saying things like, "You doing better now?" Or, "She'd want you to move on." Sometimes you want to scream, "I'm still there. I haven't even packed her toothbrush away." You want to yell, "Don't you dare tell me it's been long enough."
And the worst part, you start to believe them. You start telling yourself, "Come on, Scott, move on." But it's not that simple, because grief, it's not just missing someone. It's missing the version of yourself that existed with them.
Exactly. I miss who I was before I lost her. I was a partner. I was stronger. I had a purpose. And now I'm a guy with stories and a podcast mic trying to tell the world I still exist.
And that takes courage, mate, because it's easier to go silent. It's easier to just smile, nod, and pretend. But you're not pretending anymore. You're showing up, and that's massive.
I'll tell you what's brutal. The day after the funeral, the fridge is full, the phone won't stop ringing. A week later, the meals stop, the texts dry up, and suddenly, silence.
That silence is deafening, because you don't just lose the person, you lose the noise they brought to your life. Their laugh, their habits, their smell, the little bloody arguments over takeaway.
I remember one night I opened the cupboard and her mug was still there. Her bloody mug. I just stared at it, and then I sat on the floor for 2 hours. Didn't cry, didn't move, just sat. That was her mug. It had lipstick on the rim.
That's grief. It lives in the ordinary things. The coffee cups, the half-empty shampoo, the old text thread you refuse to delete. It's not the funeral that breaks you, it's the bloody toothbrush on the sink. 6. There's something haunting about echoes. They only exist because something used to be there. And grief, it echoes loudest when everything else goes quiet.
You nailed it. The silence of a house after someone dies. It's got a hum, like the place is holding its breath. I used to think I was hearing her call my name. Sometimes I still do.
That's not strange, mate. That's memory doing its thing. It's your heart screaming so loud, your ears start to believe it.
I used to keep the telly on just for noise. Didn't even care what was playing. Infomercials, static, because silence made her absence louder. It's weird, but the echo of her voice, or thinking I hear her keys in the door, it kept her alive for a while.
We don't talk enough about this. People think grief is tears at the funeral, but it's not. It's 2 a.m., you're staring at the wall, whispering, "Where the hell are you?"
You want brutal honesty? There were nights I whispered her name just to feel it hit the air, because if I said it, maybe I could trick my brain into thinking she was still somewhere close.
That's not crazy. That's love with nowhere to go. That's the echo, and it becomes your company when the world's moved on. But the echo, it doesn't argue, doesn't distract, doesn't judge.
Yeah, but it also doesn't hold you, doesn't laugh at your dumb jokes. It doesn't say, "I love you" back. That echo becomes a ghost you learn to live with.
And that ghost, it's not just them, it's the version of you that existed when they were here.
That's the killer, mate. I lost her, but I also lost me. The one who knew how to smile without pretending, who could look in a mirror and not feel like a fraud.
You're not a fraud, Scott. You're surviving. You're speaking your grief out loud, which means it doesn't control you anymore. It still hurts, of course, but you're not invisible. You're here, in this microphone, with me, with them, our listeners, and they need this just as much as you do.
Yeah, it's wild. I get messages from people saying, "Thank you for saying what I couldn't," but half the time I feel like I'm just bleeding into the mic.
Bleed, mate. Bleed out the truth. Because when you speak the echo, when you give it words, it becomes something else. It becomes a bridge for someone else who's drowning.
I had a listener say once, "It feels like grief is my only friend. It never leaves. It never stops talking. It knows all my stories." And I said to them, "Yeah, grief's a bastard like that, but sometimes it's the only one who remembers everything you lost."
So true. Grief is a reminder, a monument. But it's not the whole story. That echo may be company, but it's not all the company you deserve.
And that's the shift, isn't it? Learning to let the echo be a part of your world, but not your whole damn world. That's the part I'm still figuring out.
And you're allowed to still be figuring it out. There's no roadmap for this, no calendar for when the echo stops. But what matters is that you're still here, and so are the listeners. And this space, it's proof that grief doesn't get the final word.
You ever feel like the world's on a treadmill and you're just glued to the floor? Like people are getting married, starting businesses, moving house, having kids, and you're still waking up to the same four walls, wondering how to just get out of bed.
Absolutely. And what's worse is that people start asking, why haven't you moved on? Like healing is a bloody to-do list. Oh, sorry, mate. Let me just tick stop grieving between making coffee and walking the dog.
Exactly. I remember when someone said, "Mate, you're still talking about her," and I thought, yeah, she's still dead. It's not like grief expires.
People want grief to be neat, predictable, cry for a while, then smile again. But they don't understand that for some of us. Time doesn't mean healing. It just means longer without them.
And that's where the stagnation sets in, because the world rewards movement. If you're hustling, grinding, growing, you're successful. But what about when your biggest achievement today was just getting dressed?
That's massive. And I mean it. We don't measure survival properly. You made it out of bed today, that's a win. You didn't scream when their song played in Kohl's, that's a win.
But it doesn't feel like a win. It feels like treading water and watching everyone else swim laps around you.
It's okay to feel that. It's also okay to be still. Stillness isn't failure. Sometimes it's recovery. It's the quiet space before something new begins.
Stillness was all I had some days. I'd sit for hours, no telly, no phone, just breathing, trying to find some anchor in a world that didn't notice I was drifting.
That silence you sat in, it wasn't nothing. It was sacred. It was survival. It was you saying, I can't move today, but I'm still here.
There were days I'd scrape the carpet with a bit of cardboard. No reason, just to do something, to make a sound, to know I still existed.
That's the thing. When you're grieving deeply, even weird things become lifelines. You're not mad. You're human, clinging to proof that you're still breathing.
And the guilt, don't even start me. You feel guilty for grieving too long, then guilty if you laugh, then guilty if you don't laugh at something funny. It's like walking through life with a broken compass and everyone else has a GPS.
Guilt is grief's evil twin. It whispers all the wrong things. You should be better by now. You didn't cry hard enough. You didn't save them. But here's the truth. You loved, and that love is still in you. That's not guilt. That's proof of your humanity.
So if you're listening and you're stuck, if the world moved on and left you behind, it's not because you're weak. It's because your heart's doing sacred work that the world doesn't see.
Say that again, mate. That's gold.
Your heart is doing sacred work the world doesn't see. So don't rush it. You're not behind. You're just healing in your own way.
Let's talk about the invisible kind of grief. The one that shows up when you're at Woolies and can't remember what aisle the milk is in because your brain's screaming, "She used to buy the milk."
Yeah, it's in the little things, the routine, the empty passenger seat, the cup of tea you make without thinking, then realize halfway through it was her cup and she's not here to drink it.
That's the part people don't get. They think grief only lives in the big moments, the anniversaries, the funerals, but the daily grind, that's where grief hides.
And it's relentless. You go to work, try to focus, and out of nowhere, a smell, a song, a voice, and suddenly you're spiraling and there's no emergency exit.
I've had mates say they feel like they're living two lives, the public one, where they smile and function, and the private one, where they're falling apart in the Woolies car park.
I've been that guy. I've sat in my car for hours, engine off, hands on the wheel, just waiting for the courage to step into a world that doesn't miss her the way I do.
Invisible grief is the kind that makes you feel like a ghost in your own life. Like you're there, but not really. Smiling, but hollow.
People say things like, "Mate, you're strong," but they don't see the hours I spend lying on the floor, staring at the ceiling, thinking, what now?
There's a pressure in that word. Strong, like it means not broken, but being strong means carrying the broken pieces anyway.
Yes, being strong doesn't mean never falling apart. It means falling, then getting up with your pieces still scattered and walking anyway.
You mentioned a story once about mowing the lawn at night.
Yeah, one night I was feeling so anxious I couldn't sit still, so I mowed the lawn at 9:30 p.m. in the dark. Neighbors probably thought I'd lost the plot, but in that moment I was just trying to move, to do something physical so my brain would shut up.
And that's what I mean by sacred daily grief. Because sometimes mowing the lawn is grief work, it's therapy, it's survival.
It's those strange acts that keep you grounded, like scraping the carpet, or counting the bricks on the wall, or writing messages on your phone just so you don't scream.
If you're out there doing that, writing in your notes app, talking to yourself in the shower, walking in circles, that's not weird. That's coping. That's your soul saying, "I'm not giving up."
Exactly. And if you've got a partner, friend, or stranger saying, "Haven't you moved on yet?" Here's what I say. No, I haven't. I'm still loving, still remembering, still honoring. And there's no shame in that.
Because grief is love, with nowhere to go. And every morning you wake up and carry it again. You're not broken, you're brave.
So to all the invisible grief warriors out there, I see you, even when no one else does, even when you don't. You know what's exhausting? Pretending you're okay when you're not. Smiling when your soul's limping, saying, "Yeah, I'm fine," when what you really mean is, "I'm shattered, but I don't want to make you uncomfortable."
Grief turns us into actors. We learn the lines, doing well, keeping busy, just taking it day by day. But inside, we're screaming through a glass wall.
I've worn that mask, mate. Hell, sometimes I still do. It's safer. People don't want the truth. They want the edited version, the digestible, soft focus version of your sadness.
Because the real version, it's messy. It cries at checkouts. It forgets to eat. It watches the same TV episode 14 times because it can't process a new plot.
I remember walking into a gathering once. Everyone was laughing, talking about footy, and all I could think was, "How are you all okay? Don't you know what I've lost?" But they didn't. They were just living. And that made me feel even more alone.
That's the cruel irony. The world expects you to return to normal, but never gave you space to break in the first place. So, we put on the mask, we nod, smile, and go home to cry into a bloody pillow that still smells like them.
I've had people say, "You're doing so well." And I'd think, "Mate, I spent 40 minutes today sitting in the shower because it's the only place the tears don't echo."
We build armor out of smiles. We weaponize humor. We become experts at saying, "I'm okay," even when we're falling apart.
And sometimes you start believing the mask. You start thinking, if I look okay, maybe I am okay. But that's not healing. That's hiding.
Let me say something to the listeners right now. If you've been hiding behind a mask, you're not weak. You're protecting yourself. But you also deserve places where you can take the mask off, where you can fall apart safely.
This mic, this podcast, it became that place for me where I could bleed without bandages, where I could scream without judgment, and the beauty, You lot listening, you never told me to shut up.
That's because real healing happens in truth. When we speak it, when we own it, when we whisper, "I'm not okay today," and someone responds with, "That's all right, I'm here."
So, if today you're wearing the mask, if you smiled while your soul sobbed, I see you. I've been you, and I want you to know you don't have to do this alone.
Take the mask off, love, even if just for 5 minutes, even if just with yourself. You're allowed to feel every damn bit of it.
Let's talk about time. You know, people always say time heals all wounds, but does it?
That's a big question, and it's one you've been wrestling with for years.
Yeah, because if time really healed all wounds, then why does it still hurt this much after years? Why do I still wake up and forget she's gone for half a second, only for that memory to come crashing down like a bloody avalanche?
Time doesn't heal. What you do with time does. And sometimes, grief has us stuck in a loop, where the same day plays over and over. Same thoughts, same pain. Like Groundhog Day, but with a broken heart.
Einstein once said, "There's no such thing as time. It's all happening at once." That one messed with my head, because if he's right, then grief doesn't live in the past. It's still right here with me now.
That idea, time is a loop, not a straight line, it's terrifying and comforting at the same time, because it means we don't move on. We carry forward. We fold the past into the present.
But here's the kicker. If we're stuck in that loop, you've got to stick your bloody hand into it sometimes and stop it. Say, enough. Not to forget, but to finally feel.
That takes guts, mate, to stop pretending, to sit in the wreckage and say, right, let's look at this.
It's like I've been walking through life on autopilot, not because I'm lazy, but because it hurts to wake up to the truth every day.
And that's why people numb out, drink, scroll, work 80 hours, anything to avoid the sting of that loop replaying over and over.
I've done it all, tried to distract myself, but distraction isn't healing. It's just pressing mute on a song that's still playing in the background.
So, how do you stop the loop?
You stop waiting for time to fix you. You talk, you listen, you sit with the pain and say, "I hear you. I'm not afraid of you anymore."
And that's why you started this podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, because the loop was killing me, and I realized maybe if I spoke the pain out loud, it wouldn't echo so bloody hard in my own head.
You turn pain into purpose, and now you're helping others break their loops too.
If you're listening right now and you feel like time hasn't healed you, I get it. It might never heal in the way you expect, but it can teach you and it can remind you that surviving another day is still a bloody miracle.
So, stick your hand into the loop, folks. Mess it up. Feel it all. Then walk forward. Not because it doesn't hurt, but because you can.
You've probably heard that old poem, Footprints in the Sand, the one where a person looks back on their life and sees two sets of footprints, theirs and the Lord's, and in the hardest moments, only one set. So they ask, "Why did you leave me?" And God says, "That's when I carried you." Beautiful words, comforting, but for me, it didn't sit quite right.
You always said that version felt too neat, too clean.
Yeah, because when I looked back at my hardest moments, I didn't feel carried. I felt broken, alone, flat on my face in the sand, not walking, not moving. So I rewrote it. Want to hear my version?
Go for it, brother. Lay it down.
I walked along the beach with the Lord. I looked down and saw only one set of footprints. So I turned and said, "Why is there only one set?" And the Lord looked at me, smiled, and said, "I'm not the one looking back. You've already been back there. There's only one way to go, and that's forward. That's it. No grand rescue, no magic lifting, just acknowledgement of where I've been and what's ahead."
That hits deep, because sometimes you don't need saving. You just need someone to remind you survived, and you don't have to look back anymore.
Exactly. Our footprints are proof we were there, that we fought, that we crawled, that we lived, even if they're crooked, even if some days we dragged ourselves instead of walking.
That's still movement, still progress, even if it was slow, even if it was messy.
And you know what? I don't want anyone to carry me anymore. I want to walk this road, even if I limp, even if I fall, because every scar I've got now tells me I've been somewhere. I've felt something. I'm still here.
There's power in that, in reclaiming your path, not as something tragic, but as something sacred.
I look at those metaphorical footprints now and I think she was with me every step, in the laughter, in the silence, even in the bloody carpet scraping and midnight mowing. And I reckon if I really listened, I'd hear her voice now saying, "Keep going, Scott. Don't stop. You've got more steps left."
Mate, that gave me chills, because grief doesn't have to mean you're frozen in the past. It can be the whisper that pushes you forward.
So, to everyone listening, don't stare too long at where your feet used were. Look up, the beach is still there. The tide hasn't taken everything, and every step you take now, it's yours, even if it's shaky. No one prepares you for what happens years after the loss. When the flowers have long since died, when the funeral cards are packed away, when even the closest people in your life have stopped mentioning their name. That's the loneliest part of grief. Not the day they pass, not even the first year, but the after, the silence that sets in when everyone else has moved on.
Long-term grief is the part no one talks about. There's no casserole train at year 3, no sympathy cards on year 5. It becomes internal, private, invisible.
People think, surely he's better now, but they don't see that some days it's harder now because the memory's fading, and that terrifies you. I used to know the exact way she laughed. Now it's just a sound I try to remember, and that guilt, it's crushing.
It's the double grief, grieving the person and grieving the pieces you're losing of them over time. It's a slow fade that no one warns you about.
Sometimes I wonder if I'm the only one still thinking about her today, if I'm the only one who remembers the little things, the way she liked her tea, the look on her face when she didn't want to laugh but couldn't help it. And I sit with that loneliness like it's an old coat, familiar, heavy, almost comforting.
Because it's what you've known for so long. It's become part of you.
Exactly. Long-term grief doesn't scream, it whispers, it shows up in the small cracks, the empty chair at a family BBQ, the song that plays when you're shopping for bread, the birthday that still shows up on your calendar, even though she won't be there to celebrate it.
You've told me before, sometimes you don't even want to heal. You want to remember. You want to feel it, because feeling it means she was real.
That's the paradox, mate. I want the pain to go away, but I also don't. Because what if that pain is the last piece of her I've got left?
You're not alone in that. I've had people say to me, if I stop crying, will that mean I've forgotten them? And the answer is no. Memory isn't tied to tears. It's tied to love. And love outlasts grief, even the long, quiet kind.
And to anyone out there who's 10 years into a loss and still aching, you're not broken. You're not stuck. You're human. And your love has just outlived their physical presence. That's not weakness. That's devotion.
Say that again.
Your love has outlived their presence. That's not a flaw. It's a bloody, beautiful truth.
So don't judge your timeline. Don't let anyone tell you how long grief should take. If you still talk to them at night, if you still cry on their birthday, if you still set a place at the table, that's not weird. That's grief doing what grief does best. Hanging around long enough to become part of your soul.
Hey you, I'm still here. Still doing the weird stuff you used to tease me for. Still talking to you like you can hear me. I mowed the lawn last night. I know, dumb, right? You'd yell at me for doing it barefoot again. I still can't bring myself to throw out your shampoo. Your scent's nearly gone from the bottle, and that scares me more than anything. I miss your laugh, your angry face when I'd eat your last Tim Tam. Sometimes I hear you when I'm walking alone, not your voice, just you. The world keeps turning, but I feel like I'm stuck on the day you left. Anyway, I just wanted you to know I haven't moved on, but I have moved forward. And you're with me every step. Love always, me.
Mate, that's beautiful. That's not just a letter. That's a heartbeat.
It's weird. I always feel lighter after writing those, not healed, not fixed, but like I let some pressure out of the bottle.
And I think that's what grief needs. Not solving, but speaking, even if it's to someone who's no longer physically here.
Exactly, because I believe they hear it, not through ears, but through love.
To anyone listening, if you've got something unsaid, write it, say it, even if it's whispered into a pillow or typed into your phone at 3 a.m. Even if it's just, I love you, I'm still hurting, I still need you.
And if you're scared to write it because it makes the grief too real, just remember, you're not summoning pain, you're honoring love. Big difference.
And you don't have to send it. The act of writing is enough.
Here's a thought. What if we made space in our lives for these letters, not just once a year, but whenever the ache hits? What if part of healing isn't pretending they're gone, but finding new ways to keep talking to them?
I love that. And I know our listeners will too.
So here's your permission slip, folks. Write the damn letter, say the thing, cry while you do it, laugh halfway through, do it scared, do it broken, do it because love deserves words, even if they're written in tears. Grief has no timetable, but it does have a sense of humor. Dark one. Just when you think you're coping, bam, it hits you with a smell, a song, a bloody old Facebook memory.
We call those grief landmines. They're invisible until you step on one. Then it's all tears, gasps, shaking hands, and no warning.
One time, I walked into Coles and saw her favorite biscuits. That was it. Shattered. No warning. Just full meltdown in aisle 7 between the Tim Tams and the Shapes.
That's what people don't understand. It's not always the big days. It's not the anniversary or birthday. It's Tuesday morning when their favorite show pops up on Netflix. It's when you hear a laugh that sounds like theirs.
Or you find their handwriting on the back of an old receipt, and suddenly it's 2016 again, and you're breathless, because those loops you thought you escaped, they drag you back without asking.
Have you noticed how some triggers don't even make sense?
Mate, I cried once because I saw a couple arguing in Bunnings. Why? Because we used to argue in Bunnings. And suddenly I missed the bickering, missed the way she'd sigh and roll her eyes and say, "Just grab the bloody light bulb, Scott."
That's the thing. Grief attaches itself to the mundane, because the mundane was your life together.
Exactly. I missed the stupid stuff, the laundry fights, the way she hogged the blanket. I even missed the way she'd look at me when I played my music too loud in the car.
That's the sting of the landmine. You're not just grieving the person, you're grieving the rhythm they gave your life.
And when that rhythm stops, every day feels like it's offbeat.
Let's talk about dates, because there are certain days that hit harder, even if they don't mean anything to anyone else.
Absolutely, like the day we met. No one else remembers it, but I do. And every year on that day, it's like my heart just knows. It wakes up sore before my brain even catches up.
Sometimes it's not even a date, it's a temperature, a scent in the air, a kind of sunlight that makes you go, this was the weather the day I lost them.
And that's what makes grief feel eternal, because the world keeps throwing reminders, and no matter how much time has passed, you still bleed when it hits.
But you also survive it. Every time, you cry, you breathe, you scream into a pillow, and then you wake up the next day, still standing, still loving.
And maybe that's the real strength, not in avoiding the triggers, but in facing them, in walking into that supermarket again, buying those biscuits anyway, and saying, I miss you, but I'm still living.
To our listeners, if you're walking through a minefield of memories, you're not alone. And stepping on a landmine doesn't mean you failed. It means you love deeply, and that love is still with you.
Let yourself feel it. Let it wreck you. Then let it remind you you're still here. And that is no small thing. I don't think anything messed with my head more than the first time I laughed after she passed. I actually caught myself mid-laugh and shut it down. Thought, how dare I? How can I laugh when she's not here?
That's the hidden weight of grief. Not just the sadness, but the guilt. The guilt of living while someone you love is not.
The first time I even looked at someone new, not romantically, just noticing them, I felt sick. Like I was betraying her. Like her memory was watching me and shaking her head.
But that's the thing, mate. Grief isn't loyalty, it's not a punishment, and healing doesn't mean forgetting.
Still, it feels like betrayal sometimes. Even just having a good day, waking up and not crying, having a laugh at the servo with some stranger, it hits you like, oh no, am I moving on too fast? Am I letting go of her?
You're not letting go, you're making space. Grief doesn't vanish, it shifts. It moves into your ribs and your breath and your stories, and you carry them, not leave them.
I had this moment a while ago. I was walking through town, sun was out, birds chirping, and for a moment I felt calm, not euphoric, not healed, just okay. And then instantly, guilt, like my peace was stealing from her memory.
And that's grief guilt in a nutshell. It tells you that joy is betrayal, that moving forward is abandonment. But here's the truth, Scott. Your healing doesn't dishonor her, it honors her.
Say that again.
Your healing doesn't dishonor her, it honors her. Because she loved you, mate. She wanted to see you happy, not stuck in limbo forever.
You know what gets me? The idea that if I ever truly feel okay again, it means I've closed the chapter. But grief doesn't have chapters, does it?
No, it doesn't. It has layers. It folds in on itself. You don't close the book, you just start writing new pages with the same ink.
And sometimes that ink runs, doesn't it?
Yeah, sometimes it smudges, sometimes it bleeds. But it's still your story. And it's okay for that story to include new people, new laughs, new joys. You're not replacing anyone. You're expanding the space they left.
I reckon that's the hardest part, giving yourself permission. Permission to love again, to live again, even if it's slow, even if it's clumsy.
And if you're listening right now and you've laughed recently, or gone a whole day without crying, or started to fall in love again, that's not something to feel guilty about. That's something to celebrate.
You can cry for them and smile for yourself. You can miss them and move forward. It's not an either or, it's a both and.
So next time you feel joy, don't pull away from it. Hold it. Let them be part of it. Say to yourself, this happiness is mine, but it's ours too.
Because they'd want that, wouldn't they? They'd want to see us smile, even if our eyes are still wet. I've said it before, but I'll say it again now. Grief never really leaves. It just changes shoes. One day it walks beside you. Next day it's dragging you. And some days it's you dragging it. But here's what I know for sure. I'm still here. And if you're listening to this, so are you.
There's something powerful about that, isn't there? Just the being. No achievement, no fix, just existence.
Because being here means the story isn't done. It means there's more life to write, more people to love, more bad jokes to tell, more sunrises to watch, more cups of tea to make, even if they're just for you now.
Grief doesn't mean your life ended. It means it changed. You carry someone now, not on your back, but in your bones, in your breath, in your pauses.
And sometimes in your bloody, ugly cries at midnight, let's be honest.
Yep, especially those.
You know what I realized? She's not gone, not really. She's in everything I do, in the way I show up, in the way I talk about love, in the way I hold space for other people's pain. She taught me how to love big and how to survive when big love breaks you.
That's her legacy. Not the tombstone, not the date on the calendar, but you, the way you kept going.
So if you're grieving right now, if the world has moved on, but you haven't, that's okay. That's more than okay. You're doing sacred work. You're remembering. You're honoring. You're loving someone who can't be held but is still very much here.
And if no one said it to you today, you're doing bloody amazing. You're surviving. You're trying. You're brave.
We don't need to fix grief. We just need to make space for it. So today, if you smiled, cried, both, or neither, you've done enough.
And tomorrow, you'll try again. Not because you have to, but because there's still light left in you, even in the dark.
Hey, before we sign off, I want to say something directly to you, the one listening right now. Thank you for talking with us through this massive episode. Thank you for being honest with yourself, for letting yourself feel, for making it to this moment. If you need someone to talk to or just want to say hi, my inbox is open. chatwithscott.findthelight@gmail.com. And if today was hard, please reach out.
Here's that reminder again because it matters. If you're struggling, you are not alone. Lifeline Australia 131114. Beyond Blue 13002224636. Don't let the darkness tell you you're alone. Reaching out isn't weakness, it's fighting back.
Grief doesn't end, but neither does love. So if you ever feel lost, come back to that truth. You are loved, you are not forgotten, and you're not walking alone anymore. We'll see you in episode 11. Until then, keep breathing, keep loving, and don't be afraid to let the light back in.
We love you, legends. Stay safe out there.
Soul searching, fall apart, tunnel vision, hiding in the dark. Well, I ain't gonna holler before I really bleed. Salvation, a quick fix remedy. You said I never could change. I thought I never could change. They said I never could change. Damn right, never would. Leave the light on. Leave the light on. Just leave the light on. Yeah, leave the light on. If I'll ever change, of Nashville, Tennessee, while the cold here in Sweden got the best of me. Well, haven't I got better things to think about than that? Like deadlines, rent's due, bills pile up, family day in, day out, the clock's mocking me, getting old, oh God, the kids deserve so much more than this, gotta get rich. You said I never could change. I thought I never could change. They said I never could change. Damn right,